So for anyone that doesn't know, we've held a contest over the last month for anyone that can come up with a story of how me and Lottie met. Whoever can come up with the best two stories, I'm going to pick a winner, Lottie's going to pick a winner. I'm going to be giving away a gift card to them, spendable at a place of their choice, as long as I can, get it to them. So today we're going to go through and we're going to read them. So we're starting off with Shortcake's story, and I don't believe Shortcake is here, but we're going to read it anyway. So, in a galaxy far, far away lived someone with a good accent, but no one wants to hear that garbage. So here's the actual story. Once upon a time, a bloke who was, insert age and insert weight, treasured through Mars. He was born in Mars, like everyone else on that era. It was 1999, I think, but I don't know. I can't remember much. And you wanted to go too early. Your family said it was too dangerous, and that you could turn into Pom Pom, Super Mario Maker 2 boyfriend Boom Boom. Did you give a little shit? No, you didn't. You spent the next insert years building a rocket, but it was very hard. Your family said it was easy, and it was like it was rocket science. You finished your rocket, and you decided to yeet to Earth. Earth looks like a plate after a dog has licked the scraps, I think that means. It looks clean, but still have big white spit stains on it. I should probably switch the camera only, shouldn't I? You were going about as fast as an old lady on a tricycle mobility scooter who is only using one wheel. I think the old lady is quicker. Hard to tell. You end up landing on an island. You try to negotiate with a man there, and you only speak Mars and all you can say is Mars. He gave you a king-size Mars bar. You take it and go to another person there. You find someone who helps you. You're on the Isle of Man, which is an isle in Scotland, for anyone that doesn't know.
For the B-Day boy.
Oh, Miss Kitty, thank you for the 500 bits. I appreciate it. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of your bitties. Love you, Miss Kitty. A king-size Mars bar, you take it and blah, 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 Isle of Man. You go to school and learn basic stuff, and then you decide you like the sound of England, so you head there by a water machine. You blend in because you're broke on cash, and also, you surprising, have a thickened British accent too. You head southeast on a water machine. You sit there bored. Guess what? Bored, very bored. Finally, the journey was over, although you don't know much after being at school. For half a dozen years, give or take a few, you do know what the capital of London is. England. Wait, the capital of England is London. You have to get a taxi and all the way to London after the driver says £40.99. So you just hop out and leave. You finally get a job and found an app called Switch and started streaming some games on there. You then found someone called Lottie on your stream, and you tried to flirt, except you're bad and you blew your shot like a cat with a missile launcher on its back. You then go find some more friends because you're sad and depressed. You make some friends, and after that you decide to meet up on a quadruple date, but she gets with another guy. So you use your Marsinsuism powers to possess Lottie in the freck-making alien body of yours. So now whatever she does, it purely form your control. There's my story. Right, that was from Shortcake. That madness. That the ramblings of a madman is what I will say on that one. Well, that is a story. Okay, next up, we've got the big shy guy. Lottie and Paul met after Arsenal lost the Champions League final against Birmingham, lost the League Cup final against Birmingham City. That actually had to play a league lower the season after. He's not wrong now, actually. Paul was so angry he got drunk with his mates in the pub, and while taking a piss outside in the alley on his way back home, Lottie walked past and waited till he was done. Paul asked why she was waiting for him, to be ready, only to find out that he was taking a piss against Lottie's front door. Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one. I like that. Why are you waiting for me to stop? You're pissing against my front door. You're pissing against my front door. Alright, we got a long one up next from our very own Magic Happens. Hold on, I need to get that. Oh. I just need to pull the... oh, you gotta be kidding me. Pull the football up quickly for in the background. That was an impressive one. That was a I like that story. Short, sharp, sweet, 2 hydrates. Okay. A young man sat, not in any area he had previously known before, but rather he sat within a rock in darkness. Paul found himself staring into a reflective water, and he wondered to himself, will I ever figure out what this means? Why can't I just wake up? Minutes turned to hours and eventually felt like months, and even years passing. Paul sat upon his rock in wait. Waiting in this manner would prove troublesome for Paul, as the best of times sitting on a rock can be quite the discomfort. Every night I close my eyes and I am returned to this state of nowhere. Nothing but my rock and the water running off into nothingness. My body sleeps, but I am never able to rest. Why? Paul was unable to remember a time when falling asleep would bring him the most vivid of adventures through faraway lands, but as of late his subconscious would show him nothing outside of his own reflection. Jumping in the water would shock Paul rather quickly, as he would only find himself falling through the water to wind up right back on his rock. During the days when Paul was active, he would find ways to stimulate his conscience as much as he could, from guzzling down GF fuel through a funnel to an intravenous drip of black coffee. His attempts at staying awake were in vain, though, as every night he would be returned to his rock. This continued for years through Paul's life, leading Paul to search day and night for answers to where and why his dreams had mysteriously vanished. I'll be honest, I'm probably never going to get a gig doing audiobooks, but I'm okay with that. 5 years into Paul's sleepless cycle, family has been calling Paul for months. His employer has all but fired him for his continued descent into a sleepless zombie, content with floating by life on the path of least resistance, never causing a wave, but also never truly connecting with the world around him. Paul has let his life fall into a dilapidated state in his search for answers and a good night's rest. Just before finally giving up, Paul's brother, Fenrir, took one last shot at bringing his brother back from the seemingly undead. "Wake up, brother! I am taking you out of this house, out of this hole, and we are getting a drink." Fenrir burst through the door with a kick that could have put Excalibur back into the stone, and anvil Arthur had once unsheathed it from. "Let's go, Paul. It's time for the pub, and I'm not taking no for an answer." Paul let out a shocked whelp as Fenrir threw his pyjama-clad brother onto his shoulder and walked out of the door. As the night progressed, Fenrir was the catalyst to a night Paul will never be able to remember, but from a few select reasons he most certainly will never forget. Last call, folks. You don't have to go home, but get the fuck out. And with that, Fenrir and Paul stumbled out into the street laughing as they joined in on the blaring "Oh Britannia" blaring out of the pub. Where shall we go, brother? I don't want to go home now that you've taken me out. I feel like I'm a character in Fable. You know, like the video game Fable. This is how they talk. If I have to go back to my rock, I'm going to fall off and drown. You can't let that happen, Fenrir. I'm too drunk for me rock. Fenrir laughed at his brother as the drunken ramblings of a rock would not stop the adventure he had planned for Paul tonight. Come, Paul, the city is what I think ails you, and the city is exactly what I plan on extracting you from tonight. Paul and Fenrir stayed the course and walked through town on the main street, eventually passing the "Welcome to this town doesn't exist" UK sign. As the streetlights began to space out further and further until the nearest light was 3 kilometres apart, Fenrir smirked and veered off the main road. With a quick leap, he was behind the brush and that had been lining the road. "Brother, it's far too late for these games. Where did you go?" Paul wandered up the street a bit further, looking in the brush for any signs of his brother. Upon finding a slight parting in the bushes in front of him, Paul climbed into the brush as well, looking for Fenrir, wandering into a very dimly lit set of trees. With twigs cracking and leaves breaking after every step Paul trotted on, convinced that he was on the path that Fenrir had taken. This was a forest that Paul had never really experienced before, which Paul thought odd as it was directly outside of the city. The trail Paul was on quickly came to the edge of a body of water, but looking out into the water, Paul couldn't help but notice something on the horizon. Not something familiar, but whatever it was, it called out to Paul, who took off his shoes and dove headfirst into the water, knowing all too well that he had to find out what it was he could see on the horizon. Swimming as hard as his arms and legs would push him through the water, Paul didn't know why, but he knew he had to figure out what called to him. Could it be Fenrir? Would he have swam out this far, this late at night? The vision came into sight with every stroke, and soon Paul's stroke slowed to a halt. He knew where he was and feared the absolute worst. Fenrir wasn't with him. Paul fell right back into his dream. Looking around, Paul saw nothing except for one rock out in the middle of the water. This time the rock was different though. From atop the rock stood a beautiful sight, almost as though she had been calling out a siren song. Stood tall upon Paul's rock was a woman whose beauty stopped Paul's heart for a moment. With the grace of an angel, the beautiful woman reached her hand down to the water, and Paul returned the gesture as she pulled him out of the water and onto the rock. "Hello, Paul. I'm Lottie. The angel has been calling out to you in your dreams. I know you've felt the past few years have been purgatory designed to punish you, but you couldn't be farther from the truth, Paul. Your dreams weren't a way of isolating you from the vivacious world around you. They were a way I could call out to you. I've been attempting for years to sing my song to the man who carries the complementary soul to mine. Every puzzle fits together with pieces, and you've pieced together my call. Now that you're here, I know that you had the piece to complete my puzzle." Long after that night, Paul and Lottie still recount their fateful meetings of friends and family, but words never truly recaptured the magic that brought them together. And to this day, every night, Paul looks to his side before bed, thanks his graces for finding such a beauty, and enters into the wildest adventures his subconscious could ever imagine. The end. Well, bravo. Gwyn, welcome in. This is the contest. That was a submission from Magic Happens. Great work. Really great work. Really great work. Wow. That was a That was a really good one. The work was that's gone into that was brilliant. We've got another short one here from Shortcake. There was a man called Paul who went on Tinder. 3 years later, he is with his girlfriend. The end. Another one here from Shortcake. Paul spoke posh English, and so when he was leaving his first date with Lottie, he paid and said this: "These shall remove debts owed towards thy exquisite edibles." They left and never got together, and Paul lived a sad life until he stole her and threatened her to marry him, or else he would murder her in her sleep. Well, that's a scary one. Next up, we've got a submission from our friend, the two Dandy Gamers. Let's jump straight in with this one. Starting life as a simple Indiana farm boy, Paulie Hoosier was no stranger to his desire to escape life in South Bend. He dreamed of faraway places such as Fort Wayne and Indianapolis. Knowing that his only chance to make it in the big city was to leave his farm life, Paulie began training as an actor. He immediately signed up for his middle school production of Oliver. Right, this is meant to be a fictional story, not true. Hoping a talent scout would discover his abilities, Paulie requested that a seat be left open in the auditorium, ensuring that the arriving agent would witness his performing prowess. As the lights came up on stage, Paulie looked out into the audience. To his dismay, a young lady had taken the seat. During his solo, Paulie made his way into the audience and attempted to encourage the young lady into another seat with a song and dance. However, young Charlotte was not to be persuaded and remained seated. The talented scout, who had arrived at the moment, was immediately disappointed in Paulie's antics and left to return to the agency. While Paulie did not get discovered that day, he did discover a love of British culture from this experience. After the evening's failure, Paulie immediately booked passage to London, vowing to never set sights on South Bend or on young Charlotte again. His arrival to the land of the rose would bring about the arrival of a new persona. No longer would Hoopy, thank you for the follow. No longer content to be Paulie Hoosier, he quickly adopted the identity of Paul Hoos. Surely he could not forget about his collapse and forge ahead as a new man. I feel like this is the moment where you find out that I'm the villain in a story.
A bit for the follow.
A bit for the follow. Thank you for the bit, Dandy. This is where I turn into a super villain. I feel like this is that part. Let's see where it goes. After several years of failing to appear in any productions at Waterloo, Centre Stage, Big House or any other local community theatres, Paul gave up on his dream to be a performer. Heading to a local pub to drown his sorrows, he reminisced about the life.
I feel awful for interrupting your story, but happy birthday.
Thank you, Hoopy. Thank you for the bits. I appreciate it. He reminisced about the life he could have had. Yes, a pint would be helpful in forgetting. Arriving at the Blackfriar, Paul was dismayed. I've been to the Blackfriar, if we're talking about the same pub. Hold on, I need to look something up real quick, because that is actually, this could be a serious Dandy, you don't even know what you've done. You don't even know what you've done. Oh, God. I need to find it. Oh, no. No, it's not. We'll come back to this at the end of the story. Let me finish the story and then we'll come back to this. Arriving at the Blackfriar, Paul was dismayed to discover the crowds. There was hardly any seating to be had. Paul would either have to sidle up at the bar or head to his flat. He noticed an opening next to a beautiful young woman and decided to take the open seat. After a couple pints of lager, he was beginning to feel a bit better and decided to strike up conversation with the fellow bargoer. He regaled her with stories of his failures as a performer, telling her that he could have made it big. He mentioned his auditions, his bit roles, and the constant stream of rejection. A smile slowly creeped upon the young woman's face. She began to remember the time when she visited America to see distant relatives. She began to remember the time when she saw a middle school production of Oliver. She began to remember the time a young boy frantically danced around her. She held up her hand, halting Paul's ramblings. "I'm Lottie," she said. "It's nice to meet you." Wow. That's a really good one. I really like that one. Right, let me tell you how that was kind of a little bit weird. The first time that I went to meet Lottie's parents, we met up in a pub that was probably a 30-second walk from the Blackfriar. How about that? How weird is that? That was the first time I went to meet them. I know, how crazy, Dandy. That's bizarre. GG on that one. Yeah, 30, because I thought it was the Blackfriar, because I've been in the pub, but it's the south side of the bridge. We met in a place called the Doggets. Okay, next up we have got Kevin the Rad Cat. Once upon a time there was a man named Paul who wanted to find his perfect soulmate. He didn't have access to Tinder because he was banned for threatening a girl to marry him, so he tried plenty of fish. Excuse me. There he got a match named Lottie, Loveheart, shortened to Lottie for the sake of this story. Now Lottie was a poor girl living in a potato sack. Some guy gave her a laptop and a portable power outlet and said, "Do not die alone, get a boyfriend." She also lived next to Starbucks, so she had free Wi-Fi. Anyway, back to Paul. Paul's first message was, "I like that potato sack. Potatoes are my favourite." An interesting opener, to say the least. However, she didn't respond because she thought his pic looked ugly. Fair. So Paul decided to hack into the mainframe and find out where she lives. He also changed the 2016 vote so that Trump wouldn't win and stopped world hunger. Her address was that one potato sack in London. So he quickly went there and said, "Hello, I am a world-class hacker and I found you so we could be together." Lottie didn't ignore him, this time because she realised he just put his most unflattering picture as his avatar. "Hello, this might be a violation of my privacy, but you seem like a cool guy." Some guy next to him said, "You want that poor girl? Dude, get a real girl." Paul kicked him in the nuts and said, "No." Paul loved Lottie so much that they actually went to live in a potato sack. He brought all his gaming equipment so they could play games too. No food though. Luckily, the potato sack was green, so he could use it as a green screen. This is just the story. It's at the way everything ties in. Then a wizard came and turned the potato sack into a pocket dimension with infinite food and water because he thought their love story was the most touching thing he'd ever seen. Just kidding, he was bored, like really, really bored. So now he just sits at his desk in his pocket dimension and plays Mario Maker 2, sometimes with his wife, which he married. Now, is this a good or bad ending? You decide. GG, Kevin. GG. Good work. Good work. Okay, so we're going to Rayan first because Rayan's going to die of starvation. Rayan's got a short one anyway. Thank you for the clip, Gwyn. I'll check that one out after. Once upon a time, there was a guy named Paul. He was very, very horny. He had a BBC from 83 kilometres, and there was a problem. He was horny, but his dick was too long to jerk off. So he went to the dark web market and he found for negative Viagra. There was one man who had it. It was a Nigerian prince named Hamza. He sent a DM and he got a response, and Arsenal just scored. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Who got it? Laka. I think it was Laka. Yeah, it's Laka. Lacazette. It's just going to quickly check the replay, if you don't mind. Sorry. 2 seconds. Oh, he's slightly offside. No, he's offside. It's not going to be given. He's offside. No, he's offside. There was one man who had it, a Nigerian prince named Hamza. He sent a DM and he got a response, and the negative Viagra was sent. 3 weeks later, it was here, and he ate it, and it worked. His dick was 27 kilometres, so he jerked off, but someone knocked at the door. It was a secret agent named Lottie who saw that he bought something from the dark web. He took her inside the house and let her see his long dick. She was flabbergasted and she loved it. And like that, they got a son and they had a horny and happy life. I mean, 27 kilometres long. I think the goal stands, by the way. It looks offside to me. Team Dick. Excuse me. I'm sure that was offside. I can't believe they've given that. Oh yeah, 100%. They've given a goal. They've given a goal. Death by boner. Anyway. Rand, go and enjoy your food. I'm going to pull up Mel's story, which is the final story. And then we will pick the winners. Oh, why has it brought it up in a notepad document? I don't want it in a notepad document. Right, I'm going to have to copy and paste that into an email because I can't read it like that. I need to get Microsoft Word, I think. Right, there we go. Oh, no, what have I done? There we go. Right. Okay. The final story of the competition. At the ripe age of 18, a young fellow named Paul found himself struggling financially. Money was scarce. Oh wait, I did say this was Mel's story, didn't I? Sorry if I didn't. This is Mel's story. Money was scarce, so he knew he had to get a job. A couple of months of applying for various jobs to no avail, he finally got his chance. A company roughly 30 minutes outside London had decided to give this man a chance. Due to Paul's lack of experience, he was unqualified for most positions at the company. He was set to do menial tasks, but he happily obliged as he knew this would give him both an income as well as experience. Weeks go by and the lad comes in 5 days a week and keeps learning new stuff. Despite being a new employee, the company seems to be satisfied with Paul's performances. The pay is good, there's good benefits, and his fellow colleagues seem to thrive. 2 months go by and things are still looking good, and our man is given new tasks, more responsibilities, and his superiors are content. Despite all the positive aspects surrounding the workplace, the company seems eerily mysterious. They're very reluctant to talk to the media and have strict rules regarding outsiders visiting the facility. Paul decides he needs to start asking questions, so he writes down questions and puts them in a box designed for employees to anonymously report internal issues. Well, this has taken a very interesting turn. A few days later, Paul is sitting in the cafeteria having a break and enjoying his lunch. He goes to the restroom, and when he's done, he goes back to finish his lunch. Shortly after, he starts feeling drowsy. He knows something is up, but he gets more tired by the minute. Eventually, he falls asleep. At one point, he wakes up with a massive headache. He's in a cold room. He's lying on a mattress. He gets up and walks to the window. "Where am I?" he asks. The outside does not seem familiar. He hears footsteps. Someone is coming towards the door. The footsteps get louder. The door opens up slowly. A man he does not know speaks in broken English. "Come with me." Paul reluctantly follows the man. They walk down a hall and continue to walk down some stairs. They reach what must be the ground floor. They reach a door and go outside. Paul and the unknown man are greeted by 5 men. He recognised one of them. It's the general manager of the workplace. This feels like a Dan Brown novel. The manager takes a few steps towards Paul and says, "Welcome to North Korea. Your nosy curiosity has brought you here. You see, the company that we work for is a subsidiary company of a North Korean company, in which in turn is owned by the government here. We drugged your water the other day and brought you here. We cannot have employees questioning our intentions. You are here now. Forget about England. Your new home is here, and it starts now. You will be working for the parent company." Paul is bewildered, but is too scared and confused to react properly. He's escorted to an apartment complex. The facilities are very plain, but he knows he has no chance for escape. The next morning he's escorted yet again, this time to the outskirts of Pyongyang. Away from all the governmental buildings, away from the tall buildings, away from the scenes that Westerners are exposed to through media. They arrive at a grey concrete building, very anonymous looking, and he's set to work. At first glance, Paul is afraid that he's looking at labour camp-like working conditions, but it turns out to be better than expected. There's not a lot of tools and close to no modern technology, but the employees seem to be treated humanely. Paul is given a good job, despite not speaking Korean, but thanks to a translator by his side, everything works out somehow. A whole year goes by, and at this point, Paul has fully embraced the situation. His Korean is fluent, in fact. It's impeccable. He's become a good motivator for the people working under him. He's been given opportunity to visit parts of North Korea that outsiders rarely get to see. He gets to see the raw, unfiltered version of the country that outsiders never hear of. He forgets his life back home in England. This is his home now. He has not spoken to family or friends for the entire time and have no idea how they're feeling. Another 2 years go by and Paul has now risen nearly to the top of the company. He gets freedom outside of work and he's able to roam the streets of Pyongyang freely. Locals recognise him constantly, who praise him for his work. Everything is going great until one day when a group of foreign investors visit the workplace. After showing the investors round, Paul decides to take them all downtown to go to a restaurant to finalise some deals. Once at the restaurant, they all hang up their coats on a rack, and one of the investors, a few pictures fall out of his pocket. Paul picks them up, looks at them and hands them over to the investor. There's a young woman on one of the pictures and Paul asks the investor who it is. The investor turns to Paul and says, "That is a living descendant of the man that invented the beef Wellington." Yet another 2 year passes and the investors are back, but this time the woman in the picture has joined the investors. Back when the investor came back to his native Argentina, he told his British associates that the Englishman was a big shot at a company in North Korea. This story reached said woman, who got in touch with the investor asking if she could join him on his next venture to North Korea. The investor was fine with that. Get out of here, fly. The investor was fine with that, and here they were. This woman called Lottie stayed in North Korea for a month. She and Paul had a grand time. At the time she forced to leave the country, she didn't want to leave Paul behind. They had to stay in touch somehow. "Why don't you move back home to England?" Lottie asked, realising there could be something here. Paul knew he had to take action. Despite the limited communication, they stayed in touch for another 2 years until Paul had resigned and was able to leave North Korea behind. He returned back home to England, where Lottie had not forgot about the month they had shared together. For his own safety and for legal reasons, Paul was forced to leave the company altogether. He could not return to the subsidiary where he started off his career, but that is a story for another time. Bravo, Mel. Bravo. Bravo. GG, Mel the man. GG. Those are some pretty crazy stories. Pretty crazy stories indeed. I want to know how I was actually able to leave the government place when they brought me there in the first place. Like, how did I manage to actually do that? That's what I'd be interested to know. Great stories, guys. Thanks for everyone who got involved in that. I can see you've put a hell of a lot of work into them. That was another story. What was another story? Oh, yes. Yeah. Got ya. So, yeah. Maybe Mel can do us a follow-up at some point. But you can see there's a hell of a lot of work gone into them, and they're really good, really funny. Dandy's one, the fact that he nearly picked out where I'd met Lottie's parents, that's spooky. That is spooky. So, Lottie, do you want to text me a winner, or do you want to put it in chat? 45 minutes into about what would be funny. I liked Kevin's one. My favourite part was the potato sack. It's like a Disney story. There's a woman who lives in a potato sack. No, not a potato sack. Yes, a potato sack. She lives in a potato sack? Yes, a potato sack. You can see it now. It's a Disney story waiting to happen. So I'll wait for Lottie to pick a winner. A green potato sack, which turned into a green screen. Very, very clever. I got fried and thought, what would make for a great Paul Meets Lottie story? Magic's one was very that could be a novel. Magic's definitely got some writing chops there, definitely. Dandy's was almost spot on. I like the way Dandy took elements of real life and weaved it into the story. Very clever. Shortcake's one was utterly outrageous, but very funny. Shy Guys one was short and sweet, and had a great punchline at the end of it. So I can see good qualities in all of them. I like the lunacy of Mel's one, and I could actually see Mel's one somehow turning into an actual story. Like that could be a legit story. Lots of different variety. Lottie's picking
My
Magic.
winner is at MagaChapins004.
Wow, GG Magic. GG Magic. So, for me, Magic's story was really, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. For me, my winner it's tough. But I think the fact that it struck very, very close to home, and how weird it was that it almost picked the right pub, I'm going to have to pick Dandy as my winner. So, GG Dandy. But what I'm going to do, everyone's going to get a gift voucher for entering, because all of the stories were great. I'll hit you all up individually on Discord. Let me know what you want to do. If you want to do a Steam voucher, Epic, eShop, Amazon voucher, whatever you want to do. Thanks, guys, for entering. I really appreciate it. The love and care that you've put into the stories. I'm gonna send a voucher in each of your way. Go and spend it on a game or something, and enjoy yourself with it, because it was. They were all really, really cool. I liked all of them. So, thanks again, dudes, for doing that.